So what's in a name, you ask?
Well, it's a whole lot if you are a college athlete.
And this is Chick to Chick. And we want to start off today by thanking Three Little Birds for providing us with clothes for today's podcast.
That's right. And you can find them at Mechanicsburg, Hershey, and now Lancaster. Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks, Margaret. Okay, so we asked that big question, what's in a name? Well, a whole lot these days. If you are a college athlete, something is going on. It's called NIL. That is short for name, image, likeness. And basically what that means is just like professional athletes, college athletes can now profit off of their name, their image, and their likeness.
Yeah, I have been to so many Penn State games. And what do you see? Everybody's going into the bookstore to find the hottest athlete's name to put that jersey on, and they're walking around with it. And it does make you think. It makes you think that if a person is going out there and it's a young athlete and their name is being put out everywhere, why shouldn't they make some money on it?
But then somebody else might say, why are these kids making any money, period? They're in college, they got scholarships to play football, they might go pro, they're gonna make money. Maybe they shouldn't be doing this.
Maybe, but maybe not.
That brings us to our guest today. Will Hoover is involved with NIL, name, image, likeness. Hey, Will, thanks so much for joining us today. No, Will, tell us about NIL. Will and NIL, tell us about it.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, a friend of mine, he was kind of came up with an idea or internally, maybe getting involved. Penn State alum, grad, just basically a fan. So successful business person. And he kind of outreached to me and said, hey, I'm doing this. You would be good doing this. So my wife and I got involved. We sat in several meetings with different collectives. And those collectives, if people know or don't know, are established that basically they're trying to be a driver and broker deals for these kids, whether they're whatever they might be, billboards or social media posts or whatever they might be, trying to get the money. But of course, they get their cut. So there's a lot of that. So they're trying to broker and be an agency. But my experience has been that there's no set rules. So it's kind of the Wild West. Every school, every conference, everybody does it a different way. Some are good, some aren't good. So our experience has been good because we go right with the players direct in developing good relationships with them. And that's been very positive.
Okay, so we've talked about the fact that, some people don't think kids should be getting money. You are on the side of, yes, I think they should. So talk to us about why you think it's important that their name is something that can be profitable for them.
I mean, just real simply, the TV money, the contracts that are being negotiated, the things that you see on Saturdays in State College or Columbus or Ann Arbor, if those kids weren't there to play, we wouldn't be going. So there's something they need. Yes, the scholarships are good. Yes, they do have a lot of advantages while they're there. But I think there's simple things like food, gas, that isn't accounted for. So I do think they should be rewarded. Should there be a limit? Maybe yes, maybe no. But the point is, in my experience, there's a lot of things that these guys aren't getting that they do need help with. And that's why I'm on the side of that.
So you represent two Penn State players, correct?
Yeah, a couple of them, yeah. And a little bit more, yeah.
How many players do you represent? How many players are you working with?
5.
5 players. You mentioned something about collectives coming in and trying to broker deals for these kids, and they take a piece of the pie, so to speak. And then you said you went to the players directly. So talk us through that. What did you do? What are you giving the players, and what are they giving you in return?
Well, for me and my businesses, we're not going to win business by social media posts from athletes. So we're word of mouth RFPs, salespeople. But what we do is we like the branding aspect of that. We do have events, things like that, where they want to come. And in return, those student athletes get an opportunity to meet other CEOs, businessmen, high-level executive types that kind of expand their network. So it gives them an opportunity to see some things that they wouldn't normally do. That's my experience. Other people, it's cash, it's whatever that might be. but I tend to do it where it's more of a relationship, not just about a transaction.
So the relationship that you are developing with these students, is it beyond just the fact that they're walking around with your business, on their back or wherever?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, on a personal level, there's meals, there's getting to do some fun things like that they might not be able to do. And frankly, maybe, my family might not do. So there's a close connection that they're getting experiences they might not normally get, that people from different areas, parts of the country, guys from Canada, guys from the Southeast, whatever, they might not get an experience in Pennsylvania that they would not get if they weren't with us.
And even a step further, some of these kids are coming from places where they have much mentoring maybe going on at home. Is that something that is also helpful to them, something else you're doing with them and for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fun. It's getting to know the kids. I have 4 children of my own, and some of these guys are in the same age bracket. So there's a lot of that back and forth, and whatever my wife and I can provide, because she's very, very much involved with this with me. There's a lot of talking back and forth, just saying how their day is. So they're getting another sounding board that they might not normally get, that they absolutely need. So, they have good and bad days as well. And so just to know that, we're there for them. I mean, I was an athlete a long time ago, and I know what it's like to have people around you that can be a positive sounding board that you might need away from the field, away from the game.
So what is your wife doing as a part of this, and how is she helping these kids who might not be exposed to certain things? What's she doing? She talks for them on the phone. If we go to restaurants, she's just right there with me. It's nothing on the business side for her, but she's part of everything I do, whether we have tailgates or whatever thing. So she's setting things up. So it's more like an aunt or a family relative, an extension of that. So that's what her role is in this.
What's the feedback that you are getting from these kids? Because quite honestly, whether you have someone who's getting, a profit or something from their name, these young people, they do need mentorship. They do need a place to go, and also people to meet in a room to get them past college. So kudos to you for what, you're doing. And, what are these kids saying to you? How are they feeling about engaging in this?
In my experience, I get text messages all the time. My wife does too, from these guys, just checking in, see how we're doing, how our day is. I was just in Atlanta. They're saying, how's Atlanta? What's going on? My kids, my oldest daughter, she talks with them as well. So it's a lot of that. So all the feedback's always been positive, and they're sensitive. These kids are sensitive. A lot of people see things on TV and it's all about that. But my experience, they're very sensitive, and they're enjoying any sort of mentorship that we can give them, from soup to nuts.
And it seems like that you've kind of welcomed them into your family. You talked about the relationship with your kids, and you talked about the texting that's gone back and forth. Has this all become more like a family? Are they in your home? Are they part of your life?
Yeah. I would say that's again, that's my experience. I don't think a lot of schools are that way. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. And that's a testament to the kind of culture that Penn State has, and the type of kids they're recruiting, and and that doesn't go everywhere. And you see all the horror stories, because those kids, in my view, don't necessarily want to go to that school, but they hear about money or NIL or whatever, and then they get there and they're not happy. They don't want to be there, and then everybody's leaving. So I think my experience and what I'm seeing, it's not that way at Penn State.
So how do kids who are maybe at other schools, how do they get involved to be able to get their name paid for, so to speak, with other companies? Is there something that you can tell them about how to reach out to others?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the collective. Some kids now have represented by agents. That it's crazy. Then those agents line up deals, and some kids are all about the money. Some kids want to care about the school or the coach. And again, if you looked at the top 25 preseason, I think 13 of those schools that were big NIL schools didn't even finish in the top 25, and those kids are all transferring out. So I still think the traditional model of recruiting and relationship building and connecting with the kids is there. And I think the NIL from what I can see, it should be a reward. Because you have kids that are not having stepped foot on campus that are getting big money. Then you have a roster full of guys who are like, well, what about me? You know, and so it creates a lot of hard feelings. And I think what I see, Penn State, that's not there. And that's for a positive.
This is a new thing, right? This is a new concept. It's just sort of out there, and you made reference to something. You said it's like the Wild West, right? Because I guess there aren't rules right now, and who's regulating this? What advice would you give to one of these student athletes before they sign with somebody or they, connect with a particular company? What's your advice to them?
Well, I would say this. Make sure you make the right choice for you academically, school-wise, athletically, what coach. And then from there, I would talk to people. All these schools, I was down at the Auburn game, and they have an advertisement for their collective that Auburn uses. So there are people in place at various schools that those kids can talk to and they can work with. And that's becoming more and more prevalent everywhere. In your bigger schools, they have people that those kids can talk to help get them NIL deals. It's again, I think the NCAA was slow to the game with this. And now look where you're at right now. Now it's almost like you don't even need the NCAA anymore. It's almost like the National Football League.
But I feel like, too, that they're kids. We keep calling them kids. They are kids. And how do you help them and make sure that somebody isn't taking advantage of them in this particular situation?
That's the big question, because I think a lot of people are being taken advantage. They're getting bad deals. Guys from back home that want to represent them and they'll give them a car. Well, if I can be your agent, or those kind of types of horror stories are very, very real. And then that player or that student athlete will end up working for somebody as an employee using his own name. It's crazy.
It's a lot. It's ever changing. And I think what you're doing right now is what's probably most representative of what people should be doing, because it sounds like it's not just about a transaction, but you really care about these young athletes. Not all of them are going off to the NFL
Nope.
or NHL or MLB or wherever it is. Some of them just need the right guidance. And I think, Will, I think you and your wife are bringing something to them that's really going to help them, whether they make the big bucks or not.
Yeah, I agree. And again, there's a good friend of mine. He does his model a little differently, but he's been a very, very important person and someone in our community does very well, but he's doing the right way too. Again, mine's a little different, but both are having a lot of success.
Hey, Will, thanks so much for joining us today and telling us about, I called it NIL. Is it NIL or is it NIL, or doesn't it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. NIL. It
doesn't matter. All right.
Name, image, likeness is what it is. Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, these kids got to be careful. They're young kids.
Impressionable. They want money. They want the things. All the things.
But they really, really need some guidance to help them with this, because it is a new concept. As Will said, it's like the Wild West. There aren't any rules. There aren't any regulations. They have to be careful. But again, if somebody's walking around with a shirt with your name on it, if you're walking around with a shirt with my name on it,
she wants the money.
I want paid.
Hey, we appreciate you being with us today. Do us a favor. Go over to our YouTube page, Chick to Chick on YouTube, like and subscribe. And until we are back to chirp about another topic.